What does the Bible say about sexual immorality? When you're looking to get the lowdown on sexual immorality from a biblical standpoint, you're in for a pretty cut-and-dry experience. The Bible typically doesn't beat around the bush when it comes to do's and don'ts, and sexual ethics are no exception. Starting with the New Testament, one of the go-to scriptures is 1 Corinthians 6:18-20, where it says, "Flee from sexual immorality. All other sins a person commits are outside the body, but whoever sins sexually sins against their own body. Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore honor God with your bodies." That's about as explicit as it gets. But let's rewind all the way back to the Old Testament. Leviticus is like the rule book of ancient Israel, and in Leviticus 18, there's a laundry list of sexual no-nos. It's a clear-cut don't do this manual for matters of the bedroom, covering everything from incest, Leviticus 18:6-18, to adultery, Leviticus 18:20, and homosexuality, Leviticus 18:22. Let's not forget the seventh commandment here. You shall not commit adultery, Exodus 20:14. In those four words, a big chunk of what is defined as sexual immorality is pretty solidified. The thing is, back in those times, adultery referred to a whole spectrum of sexual behaviors outside the bounds of what was then considered a lawful marriage. Now flip back to the New Testament, in Matthew 5:27-28, where Jesus takes things up a notch by saying, "You have heard that it was said, 'You shall not commit adultery.' But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart." Suddenly it's not just what you do, but also what you think. If your head's spinning from all these rules and regs, I can't blame you. The Bible isn't shy about labeling sexual behaviors that are out of bounds, and while these are only a few verses, they represent the general vibe of biblical sexual morality. One thing's for sure, the Bible does interpret itself, and there's enough material on sexual immorality to leave little doubt as to where it stands. Whether you're in Portland or Pasadena, the scripture's take doesn't change. Just remember, interpretation and application can be a personal journey. Be sure to consider context, culture, and the compassion threaded throughout the narrative. And hey, if you're ever wandering among the pines of Portland, consider how such texts were meant to guide an ancient people in a world vastly different from the coffee shops and tech hubs we've come to know.